Oh, there are poor people here. I can't stand to eat in the same place as them. Let's complain to the waiter and ask him to kick them out, one of them said. I agree. If we're around these people, we'll look low class, the other replied. My sister and her husband, whom we ran into on our New Year's trip to Hawaii, decided we were poor and started bullying us. They would say, "Don't ignore us, you ugly thing. This is no place for someone like you. You need to get the hell out of here. You're not my sister. What did you forget about me, your cute little sister? I know you're still upset that I took your fiancé. You're so jealous of me. I heard you're still working even after you're married. Poor you." Their mockery wasn't just aimed at me but also at my husband. I could tolerate their insults towards me, but I couldn't stand them making fun of my husband. I had enough and sprang out of my chair, but my husband stepped in front of me to stop me. My name is Katie. I work as a medical receptionist at a general hospital. I didn't have any special skills, but when I thought about my future, I knew I wanted to help people. That's when I decided to work in the medical field. After 2 years of studying at a vocational school, I found a job at a general hospital. My parents recognized my hard work and were proud of me for choosing a career in medical administration. But my sister's reaction was the exact opposite. She said, "This is a job that anyone could do, and it's perfect for you," and laughed. My sister Miley has always been like that. She looks down on me and makes fun of me regularly. Miley is pretty. When we were in junior high, people called her the prettiest girl in her grade. She gets a lot of compliments and is always boasting about her looks. She calls me ugly and acts like I'm pitiful. If it seems like anyone can do it, I thought, maybe I should do things only I can bring to the table. I tried to smile all the time, be really polite, and more cheerful than others. It sounds easy, but it's very difficult. Still, I was determined to do my job well and told myself I would not fail. I was very happy to know there were people out there who noticed and appreciated my efforts. "You're always energetic," Dr. Ken Smith, a doctor at the hospital, said to me. I rarely interact with doctors, but Dr. Smith knew my name. "Your smile always heals me, Katie," he added. I thought it sounded a bit inappropriate, but it was nice to be recognized. After that, we talked whenever we saw each other at the hospital. A little while later, Dr. Smith asked me out. After a few dates, he confessed his feelings for me and asked me to be his girlfriend. Shortly before my 22nd birthday, he proposed. "Will you marry me?" Ken asked. I said yes, and we made plans to meet each other's parents. I was glad I had chosen a job that helps people and was happy to work at the hospital. But my happiness was shattered in an instant. Out of nowhere, 2 days before we were supposed to meet his parents, Ken sent me a message. "Don't worry about coming to meet my parents." Confused, I wrote back immediately, asking if it didn't work for their schedule or if we should reschedule. But Ken's response was something I never expected. I said, "Don't worry about coming. I'm breaking up with you, Katie." For a second, it felt like time stopped. I didn't understand what he was saying. I immediately called him. "What do you mean? You met my parents. Just act like it never happened. What's wrong? You said you'd keep working after we got married, and you didn't listen to me." Well, that's it. I realized that I'd rather have an obedient woman than someone like you. It was like he had become a different person. I was, of course, shocked that he broke up with me, but I couldn't believe how he changed all of a sudden. "What? You said my smile heals you. I can't believe you're breaking up with me after we got engaged." "Ha, that was just something I said to make you feel good. I chose you because you were the youngest, decent-looking woman at the time. You're horrible. I'm a doctor. There are better women out there, more suitable for a doctor like me." "Who?" I had a bad feeling, and it was far worse than I thought it could be. "I'm going to marry Miley. I don't need you anymore. I should have gone to your parents' house earlier. I could have met her a while ago instead of wasting a year of my life." I started thinking about when Ken came to my house to meet my parents. Miley was there too. She wasn't supposed to be there, but she stayed on purpose to meet my fiancé. At first, she seemed ready to make fun of him. But as soon as she realized Ken was a doctor, her attitude changed. She spoke like she was flirting, but I had no idea she was trying to steal my fiancé. I couldn't believe it. I was so mad at Ken and Miley, and I was also mad at myself for letting them push me around. I was speechless. Then Ken said mockingly, "You're so shocked you can't even say anything. You know, a woman like you won't find someone else to marry. But I'm sorry, I've already made up my mind. I'm going to marry young, pretty Miley. I won't change my mind even if you beg." "Who would beg? Don't pretend like you're okay. It's obviously not true. and it's not a good look. What? Unlike you, Miley is very obedient and cute. She said she will be a housewife after we get married, just like I want. I asked her. I was irritated by his cheerful voice. I wanted to throw the phone across the room. Listen, I'm just going to be honest. Who would beg to be with a man like you? I've had it. I'm glad we're breaking up. I'm even more glad that I didn't marry a man like you. Well, you're just not cute. I was going to end it even if you cried and screamed. Good luck being a single woman, Ken said, and hung up after those hateful words. As soon as I ended the call, I received a notification. It was from my sister, and it said, I'm sorry I took your fiancé. When my parents found out, they disowned Miley and told her never to come back home. But Miley was still proud. My husband is a doctor. I won. I don't care that I'm cut off from the family. See you later, sis. Thanks for introducing me to Ken. Keep being ugly, poor, and alone. I realized they were perfect for each other, and I was so glad I didn't marry Ken. Even after we broke up, I had no intention of quitting my job, but I couldn't stand to work at the same place as him, so I transferred to an affiliated hospital. I put even more effort into my work, trying to be polite, energetic, and always smiling. Receptionists can help patients in different ways than doctors. It's not a job that just anyone could do. I worked hard, almost in spite of Miley and Ken. 2 years after Ken and I split up, someone talked to me like he did. You're always so energetic. Thank you, he said. Although I thanked him, I felt uneasy. He didn't seem like he worked at the hospital. He could be a patient or a family member. I didn't want to be rude, so I put on a smile and waited for him to leave. But he didn't move. I asked, how can I help you? He smiled broadly. I've always thought you have such a wonderful attitude toward your work. I'd like to talk to you more. Would you like to go to dinner with me? No, thanks, I replied with a polite smile. He backed off that day, but this man was very persistent. Tyler Morris showed up almost every week after that, inviting me out for dinner. Eventually, I gave in and went out with him. By then, my bad impression of him had faded. More importantly, he understood how important my work is to me. After a few dates, he asked me to be in a relationship with him. I told him about my past and my fears. I'm not holding back, but I'm still scared. I don't want to go through that again. I thought I might have said the wrong thing, but he let out a bitter laugh and looked at me with sincere eyes. I'm so attracted to you. I would never make you sad or uneasy. Can you think about a future with me? I would make you happy. Tyler's gaze was enough to calm my worries. I made up my mind and decided to start a relationship with him. He genuinely cared about me. Even when we decided to get married after a year of dating, he respected my wish to continue working. My parents were overjoyed that I was so happy. They also liked Tyler, and we were able to build a good relationship with each other's families. I was living a happy, fulfilling life at work and at home. Then something happened. My husband and I went on a trip to Hawaii at the end of the year, the only time we could vacation and relax together. While having dinner at the resort restaurant, we ran into my sister and Ken. I couldn't believe my eyes for a minute. It had been about 3 years since I'd seen them. Even though it had been so long, Miley and Ken's condescending eyes had not changed. They caught sight of us and came up, grinning. Ah, there are poor people here. Hey Ken, let's complain to the waiter and ask him to kick them out. Okay, yeah, if we're around these people, we'll look low class, they said loudly on purpose, ensuring we could hear them. They glanced at us, enjoying our reactions. There were so many things I wanted to say, but we were in a restaurant, and people were eating around us. I kept my feelings in check and continued eating in silence. Tyler, like me, completely ignored them as if he hadn't noticed their presence and smiled at me, saying, "This appetizer is delicious." Don't ignore me, you ugly thing. This is not a place for someone like you. Get the hell out of here. You're not my sister. What, you forgot about me, your cute little sister? Miley taunted. I know you're so upset that I took your fiancé. You're so jealous of me. I heard you're still working even after you're married. Poor you. They started mocking not only me but also my husband. I could put up with it if it was just about me, but I couldn't stand listening to them make fun of my husband. I had had enough and sprang out of my chair. All right, I was keeping my mouth shut, but just as I was about to snap, Tyler quickly stepped forward as if to protect me. He looked at me and said in a calm voice, "Katie, don't let these people make you angry." But they kept mocking Tyler, and I couldn't stand it any longer. He could tell how I was feeling and nodded reassuringly. Ken and Miley, watching us, gave Tyler a condescending look and snickered. You poor people are all dressed up. You may think you're dressed nicely, but you're not. You guys are matching. Miley pointed at Tyler and laughed. I felt terrible for putting my husband through this, but Tyler didn't seem to mind at all. He turned to them and said matter-of-factly, "You two are matching too. Your characters match. You both have nothing better to do than look down on others." Hearing my husband's words, they looked furious. "What? Are you making fun of us? Don't talk to us, you poor bastard. Don't you know who I am? I'm a doctor. I help ordinary people like you. You have no right to make fun of me. Unlike you, a poor man with a plain wife, I can choose as many women as I want." Saying this, Ken hugged Miley with an arrogant, boastful look on his face. Miley and Ken did look good next to each other, but just as before, my husband replied to them in the same matter-of-fact manner. "I know what you're talking about," he said. "Ken, you interned at the medical school of University A and have been working at your current hospital ever since, right?" "That's right. Ken is a doctor at a big hospital. If you know his background, even an idiot knows the difference between him and a poor person like you," Miley chimed in proudly. Ken seemed somewhat surprised that Tyler knew about his background, but Miley's pride quickly turned to confusion when she heard Tyler's next words. "Yes, I know very well. We manage the hospital. We have to know who works there." "What? Management?" Miley stammered, her confidence wavering. Ken also seemed dazed, not fully grasping the situation. Tyler took out his business card and began to introduce himself. "Sorry for the confusion. I'm Tyler Morris, the new Chief Operating Officer of the hospital network." "I didn't introduce myself. My name is Tyler Morris, and I am the president of the group company that manages the general hospital where you work." "What?" Ken finally opened his mouth, while Miley just stared at his business card in disbelief. "Yes," I added, "Tyler is the president of a group company that manages several hospitals." Tyler explained, "I first saw Katie when I came to the hospital for an inspection. During the inspection, I happened to hear that she had broken off her engagement with Ken and had been transferred to a different hospital. I was surprised to see her working with a smile on her face despite everything." He continued, "When I asked her to go out with me, it was because I was attracted to her dedication to her work, no matter what her personal life was like. Because I admired that about her, I respected her decision to keep working even after marriage." Tyler's job as president is extremely demanding, but he takes care of himself and supports me. Ken's earlier comment about feeling sorry for me because I have to work is just ridiculous. People who only see things their way wouldn't understand. But I'm very grateful to Tyler for supporting me and respecting my choices. I can proudly say that I am happy to be married to Tyler. "I can't believe he's the president," Ken said, looking anxious. Miley, who had been looking at her phone, suddenly shouted, "Hey, wait a minute. It is Tyler Morris. He started his own business early and, at only 30 years old, is the president of a major group company. He's been featured in all kinds of magazines. You're screwed." Ken looked at Miley's phone screen, his face turning pale. Miley looked down, and Ken, trembling, got on his knees and began to apologize. "I'm so sorry. I didn't expect Katie to marry someone like you, and I was rude. Don't you see that what you just said alone is very disrespectful? It seems like disrespect for others runs deep in your bones. I find it hard to believe that someone who acts like you is a good doctor." Ken became even more flustered and continued to apologize, but Tyler wasn't having it. He said, "If we keep causing a scene, it will disturb the people around us, Katie. We can order room service." He called out to a nearby waitress and gave her the room number. Then Miley screeched, "That room is one of the nice ones here. You're kidding, right? Let me go with you." How could she say that like there was any way I was going to allow that to happen? I said, "If we're around people like you, we'll look low class." My husband and I walked away. After getting back to Japan, Kent was given a pay cut when Tyler reported the incident. "Doctors are in high demand. I don't care. I'll quit." Ken was unable to find a job because of bad rumors spreading in the industry. The hospital that finally hired him had a bad reputation, a terrible working environment, and low wages. Ken and Miley constantly fought because they could no longer afford the luxuries they used to. Maybe this is why Ken had an affair with a nurse at the hospital. "I'll make sure I get what's mine." However, there was no way my sister, who didn't want to lose her husband's status as a doctor, would easily agree to the divorce. They ended up going through a divorce settlement, and both spent tons of money. After a year of mediation, the divorce was finalized, but my sister never dropped her extravagant habits and blew all the money from the property division in alimony. She now lives in poverty in a shabby apartment. Ken married the nurse he had an affair with, but a medical error happened at his hospital, and it closed. Both Ken and his new wife lost their jobs. Meanwhile, I recently gave birth to my first child and went on maternity leave. Through the birth of my child, I realized how wonderful medical work is. And once again, I felt proud of my job. I intend to continue working with Tyler to balance work, housework, and childcare.